The mornings are the quietest now. At 102 years old, I wake up before the sun rises over the Virginia trees, and for a few seconds, I forget how many years I've lived. I lie there in my wooden house, listening to the soft creak of old beams and the hum of a world that keeps moving without asking if I'm ready for it. Then I remember. I remember that I have outlived my husband. I have outlived my siblings. I have outlived most of my friends. And sometimes, I even feel like I've outlived my own time. My name is Clara Whitfield. I am 102 years old, and I live alone. People often ask me what it feels like to live this long. They expect me to say it's a blessing. And it is. But it is also something heavier than that. Living this long means carrying memories no one else remembers. It means holding stories that no one else can confirm. It means becoming the final witness to entire chapters of life that are now closed forever. When my husband passed away 31 years ago, I thought my life was finished. I remember standing in this very kitchen, holding a dish towel in my hand, staring at the empty chair at the table. That chair still sits there. I never moved it. For months, I would glance at it, expecting him to walk in and sit down with that familiar sigh he used to make after a long day. But he never did. Grief is a strange visitor. It doesn't knock loudly forever. At first, it pounds on your door and demands all your attention. Then, slowly, it settles into the corner of your life. It becomes quieter, but it never fully leaves. I thought I couldn't survive without him. We were married for 64 years, 64 Christmas mornings, 64 springs planting flowers in the yard, 64 summers arguing about nothing and everything. I thought love meant I needed him beside me to breathe properly. I was wrong. Love is not about needing someone to survive. Love is about learning how to live fully even after they're gone. The first year alone was the hardest. I would sit on the porch at sunset and feel like the world had made a mistake. I would ask God, why am I still here? I didn't want more time. I wanted the time I had back. But something changed one afternoon. I was washing dishes, staring out the window, and I noticed how beautiful the light was hitting the trees. For a moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not happiness exactly, but awareness. I was still here. My heart was still beating. The birds were still singing. Life hadn't stopped just because my chapter with him had ended. That was the day I understood something most people learn too late. Your life is bigger than any one person, even the one you love most. I began to rebuild myself slowly, not by dating, not by trying to replace him, but by rediscovering who Clara was without being someone's wife. I started baking again, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. I planted tomatoes just for myself. I sat with my loneliness instead of running from it. Loneliness, you see, is not the enemy. It is a mirror. It shows you who you are when there is no applause, no validation, no distraction. Most people are terrified of that mirror. They fill their days with noise so they don't have to look into it. At 102, I can tell you this. Learn to sit alone without feeling abandoned. If you can do that, you will never truly be alone. Over the decades, I've watched the world change in ways I never imagined. I was born when letters were handwritten treasures. Now I see children tapping on glowing screens, speaking to people across oceans in seconds. Technology grew faster than I ever did. But the human heart? It hasn't changed much at all. People still fear being unloved. People still chase money thinking it will quiet their insecurity. People still postpone joy as if tomorrow is guaranteed. Let me tell you something that only time can teach you. Tomorrow is a rumor. It is a promise no one signed. I had friends who were healthier than me, stronger than me, younger than me. They're gone now. I don't say that to frighten you. I say it because we waste so much life preparing to live instead of actually living. I used to say, I'll travel more next year. I'll forgive her when I calm down. I'll rest when things slow down. Things never slow down. And next year is not loyal to anyone. One of my biggest regrets is how long I held on to small resentments. There was a neighbor I didn't speak to for nearly 7 years because of something trivial about a fence line. 7 years. When she died suddenly, I stood at her funeral feeling something heavier than grief. I felt foolish. The fence didn't matter. The silence didn't matter. My pride cost me time I could never earn back. If I could reach through this screen and gently shake your shoulders, I would tell you this. Forgive faster, not because they deserve it, but because you deserve peace. Peace becomes more valuable than being right as you age. Another lesson? Your body will change. That's not a tragedy. That's a privilege. I have wrinkles deep enough to hold rainwater. My hands are thin and marked with age spots. My steps are slower now, but every wrinkle is proof I survived something. Every ache is evidence I kept going. When I was young, I feared aging. I thought beauty was something that faded like a flower. But beauty transforms. At 102, I no longer need to be admired. I need to be authentic. There is freedom in no longer performing for the world. Younger people often ask me how to avoid regret. I always tell them the same thing. Stop trying to impress people who are not building your future. In my 40s, I cared deeply about what others thought of my home, my clothes, my parenting. I exhausted myself polishing an image. But none of those people sit with me now. None of their opinions warm this house at night. The only thing that remains is the quality of your relationships and the integrity of your own heart. I remember one winter when money was tight. My husband had lost work, and we were embarrassed. We stopped attending certain gatherings because we couldn't contribute like we used to. I look back now and realize how pride isolates us more than poverty ever could. If you are struggling, let people see it. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is an invitation for connection. Living alone at 102 teaches you to make peace with silence. In this house, the loudest sounds are the ticking clock and my own breathing. At first, silence felt like abandonment. Now it feels like companionship. It gives me space to reflect. And reflection has shown me this. Life is not about grand achievements. It is about small, repeated kindnesses. I don't remember every gift I received. I don't remember every meal I cooked. But I remember how people made me feel. I remember the nurse who held my hand when I was frightened. I remember my husband's laugh echoing through the hallway. I remember my mother brushing my hair when I was a little girl. Feelings last longer than facts. If you want to be remembered, be gentle. At 102, I have buried a child. That is a pain I cannot describe fully. No parent should outlive their child. It rearranges your soul in ways you never recover from. For years, I asked why. I demanded explanations from heaven. None came. What I eventually understood is this: pain does not come with explanations. It comes with choices. You can let it harden you, or you can let it deepen you. I chose to let it deepen me. I became more patient, more compassionate. When you have held unimaginable grief, you recognize it in others quickly. You become softer with people because you realize everyone is carrying something invisible. If I could give the younger generation one gift, it would be perspective. Most of what you worry about today will not matter in 10 years. Most of what keeps you awake at night will fade into stories you barely remember. But the love you give, that echoes. Do not wait until retirement to rest. Do not wait until diagnosis to appreciate your health. Do not wait until someone is gone to tell them they mattered. I sit here in my wooden house in Virginia, watching the light shift across the floorboards. I do not know how many mornings I have left. At 102, you stop counting years and start honoring days. Every morning I wake up is not a burden. It is a quiet assignment. I ask myself, Clara, how will you be gentle today? How will you be grateful today? Gratitude is not pretending everything is perfect. It is recognizing that even in loss, there is something left. There is breath. There is memory. There is the chance to choose kindness again. I have outlived nearly everyone I once leaned on, but I have not outlived purpose. Purpose changes shape. At my age, my purpose is simple: to share what I've learned before my voice grows silent. Here is what 102 years have carved into my heart. Love deeply, but do not lose yourself. Work hard, but do not postpone joy. Forgive quickly, because time is not negotiable. Sit with yourself long enough to know who you are, and never assume you have more time than you do. If you are young and listening to me, do not pity old age. Pray that you are lucky enough to experience it. Aging is not theft. It is evidence. I do not fear death the way I once did. When you have lived this long, death feels less like an enemy and more like a familiar doorway. I miss my husband. I miss my friends. I imagine them somewhere beyond my sight. That thought comforts me. But until that door opens, I will keep living. I will keep watering my plants. I will keep sitting on this porch at sunset. I will keep telling the truth about what matters. Because the greatest tragedy is not dying. The greatest tragedy is reaching the end and realizing you never truly lived. I am 102 years old. I have cried oceans. I have laughed until I couldn't breathe. I have made mistakes that still make me shake my head. I have loved one man faithfully for most of my life. I have buried people I thought I couldn't survive without. And I am still here. If that tells you anything, let it tell you this: you are stronger than you think. You can survive more than you imagine. And the life in front of you, no matter your age, is still asking something from you. Do not waste it waiting for perfect conditions. They do not exist. One day, if you are fortunate, you will sit in a quiet house of your own, with decades behind you. And you will ask yourself, did I love well? Did I forgive enough? Did I live honestly? Make sure your answer is yes, because time is moving. It always has been, and it will not slow down for any of us.